The gunshots echoed through the warehouse as Officer Marcus Rodriguez threw himself in front of his canine partner. 2 bullets found their mark, and as Marcus collapsed, Rex stood guard over his fallen handler until backup arrived. But this isn't a story about that night. This is about what happened 3 days later in a hospital room, when a loyal friend refused to accept that his partner might not wake up. Officer Marcus Rodriguez had always believed that trust was earned, not given. At 34 years old, he had spent 8 years with the Metropolitan Police Department, and he had learned to rely only on himself. That changed the day he met Rex, a 2-year-old German shepherd with intelligent dark eyes and an intensity that matched Marcus's own dedication to the job. The K9 unit had been looking for the right handler for Rex, a dog whose previous partner had retired due to injury. Rex was exceptional, trained in narcotics detection, suspect apprehension, and explosive detection. But he had one problem. He didn't trust easily. 3 potential handlers had tried to work with him, and each partnership had failed. Rex would perform his duties adequately, but there was no connection, no bond that made the difference between a working relationship and a true partnership. Marcus remembered the first day he walked into the K9 training facility. Rex was lying in his kennel, watching the activity around him with those piercing eyes. When Marcus approached, the dog didn't react with the typical excitement or wariness that most police dogs showed to strangers. Instead, Rex simply observed, as if he were conducting his own evaluation. "He's particular," Sergeant Williams had warned Marcus. "Smart as they come, but he chooses his partners. We can't force this one." Marcus knelt down in front of the kennel, not reaching through the bars or making any demands. He simply sat there, letting Rex take his measure. For 20 minutes, neither moved. Then slowly, Rex approached the front of the kennel and placed his nose against the chain-link fence, just inches from Marcus's hand. "Hello, partner," Marcus had whispered, and something in Rex's eyes shifted. It was the beginning of a bond that would define both their lives. The training period had been intensive. Marcus learned to read Rex's body language, to understand the subtle differences between his alert postures for different types of detection work. Rex learned to trust Marcus's commands, to follow his lead even in high-stress situations. But, more than the professional training, they developed an almost telepathic connection. Marcus could sense when Rex was picking up a scent before the dog even alerted. Rex seemed to anticipate Marcus's movements and decisions. Their first year together had been remarkable. They had the highest success rate in the unit for drug busts and had been involved in several high-profile arrests. But their success wasn't just about their individual skills. It was about how they worked as a team. Where Marcus was cautious and methodical, Rex was intuitive and decisive. Where Rex might be too aggressive, Marcus provided restraint and judgment. They balanced each other perfectly. It was a Tuesday night in November when the call came in. A tip about a major drug operation in an abandoned warehouse district had prompted a coordinated raid involving multiple units. Marcus and Rex were assigned to the perimeter team, responsible for preventing any suspects from escaping through the rear of the building complex. The warehouse district was a maze of abandoned buildings and narrow alleys, perfect for criminals who wanted to avoid detection. Marcus parked their patrol unit 2 blocks away, and he and Rex approached on foot, using the shadows and abandoned vehicles for cover. "Central, Unit 47 is in position at the rear perimeter," Marcus radioed as he and Rex took their assigned position behind a concrete barrier. "Copy. Unit 47. Strike team is moving in. Maintain perimeter security." Marcus could feel Rex's tension beside him. The dog's ears were forward, his body alert and ready. Rex had detected something. Marcus could tell by the way the dog's nostrils were working and the slight tremor of anticipation in his muscles. "What is it, boy?" Marcus whispered, following Rex's gaze toward the back of the main warehouse. That's when they saw him, a figure moving quickly between the buildings, carrying what appeared to be a large duffel bag. The suspect was heading directly toward their position, apparently unaware of their presence. Marcus keyed his radio. "Central, we have a runner heading toward the rear perimeter. One suspect male carrying a bag. Copy. Unit 47. Apprehend if possible." Marcus and Rex moved from their concealment, positioning themselves to intercept the suspect. As they emerged into the open area behind the warehouse, the man spotted them and immediately changed direction, running toward a gap between two buildings. "Police, stop," Marcus shouted, but the suspect continued running, Marcus released Rex. With the command, "Take him down," the German shepherd launched into pursuit, his powerful legs carrying him quickly across the uneven ground. Marcus followed, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness as he tried to keep both his partner and the suspect in sight. The chase led them deeper into the warehouse complex, through narrow passages between buildings and around obstacles that provided perfect hiding spots for someone who knew the area well. Rex was closing the distance on the suspect when Marcus realized they had made a critical error. They had been led into a trap. As they rounded the corner of a building, muzzle flashes erupted from the darkness ahead. Marcus heard the sharp crack of gunfire and saw Rex stumble. In that split second, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. Instead of taking cover, instead of returning fire, he threw himself forward, placing his body between the gunman and his wounded partner. Time seemed to slow as Marcus felt the first bullet tear through his vest and into his chest. The impact spun him around, but he managed to stay on his feet long enough to draw his weapon and return fire. The second bullet caught him in the shoulder, sending him to the ground beside Rex. As Marcus lay on the cold concrete, fighting to stay conscious, he could hear Rex whimpering beside him. The dog was trying to get up, trying to position himself between Marcus and any further threat. Despite his own injury, "Stay down, boy," Marcus gasped, reaching out to touch Rex's head. "Stay down." Backup arrived within minutes, flooding the area with lights and tactical officers. The shooter was found dead, and the immediate threat was over, but Marcus was fading fast. As the paramedics worked to stabilize him, Rex refused to leave his side, growling at anyone who tried to separate them. "We need to get him to the hospital now," one of the paramedics shouted. "He's losing too much blood." "What about the dog?" another voice asked. "He's hit too, but it looks superficial." The bullet grazed his rear leg. Rex's injury was indeed minor compared to Marcus's life-threatening wounds, but the German shepherd acted as though he were the one responsible for protecting Marcus. Even as the veterinary team from the K9 unit arrived to treat him, Rex's attention remained focused on his fallen partner. Dr. Sarah Kim, the department's K9 veterinarian, examined Rex quickly. "The bullet just grazed him. He'll be sore for a few days, but there's no serious damage. The bigger concern is his emotional state. He's exhibiting classic signs of distress over his handler's condition." As Marcus was loaded into the ambulance, Rex broke free from the officers trying to restrain him and jumped into the vehicle before anyone could stop him. The paramedics started to object, but Sergeant Williams made a command decision. "Let him stay," he ordered. Their partners, St. Mary's Hospital, had never dealt with a situation quite like this. Marcus was rushed into emergency surgery while Rex was examined by the hospital's veterinary consultant in the lobby. The dog's physical injuries were minimal, but his emotional state was clearly fragile. "He won't eat, he won't drink, and he won't leave," Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the hospital administrator, explained to Sergeant Williams. "We've never had a police dog maintain vigil like this. Usually, the animals are taken back to the department while the officers recover." "Rex isn't usual," Williams replied, watching the German shepherd through the window of the family waiting room where they had finally managed to settle him. "Those two have a bond I've never seen before. Separating them now might make things worse for both of them." The surgery took 4 hours. Marcus had lost a significant amount of blood, and one of the bullets had come dangerously close to his heart. Dr. Michael Torres, the trauma surgeon, emerged from the operating room with cautious optimism. "We were able to repair the damage. But the next 48 hours are critical," he explained to the gathered officers and Marcus's family. "He's in a medically induced coma to help his body heal. We won't know the full extent of his recovery until he wakes up." Rex seemed to understand that something significant was happening. When Marcus was moved to the ICU, the hospital made an unprecedented decision to allow Rex to stay, setting up a special area in Marcus's room where the dog could maintain his vigil. The sight of the German shepherd lying beside Marcus's hospital bed, his head resting on his paws, but his eyes constantly watching his partner's face, touched everyone who saw it. Nurses would stop by the room not just to check on Marcus, but to speak softly to Rex, who acknowledged their presence with a slight tail wag but never took his attention away from the unconscious officer. As the hours turned into days, Rex's dedication became legendary throughout the hospital. He refused all attempts to take him outside for more than the briefest of walks. He would accept water if it was brought to him, but he would not eat. The K-9 unit veterinarian visited daily, concerned about Rex's declining condition. He's mourning, Dr. Kim explained to Marcus's wife, Elena, as they watched Rex from the doorway. Dogs form incredibly strong bonds, and when that bond is threatened, they can exhibit symptoms similar to human grief. He thinks Marcus is dying, and he's chosen to stay with him until the end. Elena Rodriguez had been married to Marcus for 6 years, and she had watched the relationship between her husband and Rex develop from the beginning. She knew that Rex wasn't just Marcus's work partner, he was family. "Can I try something?" she asked Dr. Kim. Elena entered the room slowly, speaking softly to Rex as she approached. The dog looked at her with recognition but didn't move from his position beside the bed. Elena knelt down next to Rex and placed her hand on his head. "He's going to be okay, Rex," she whispered. "Marcus is strong, and he's going to wake up. But he needs you to be strong too. He needs you to take care of yourself so you can take care of him." Rex looked up at her with those intelligent eyes, and for a moment, Elena thought she saw understanding. The dog allowed her to stroke his head, and when she brought him a bowl of water, he drank. It wasn't much, but it was progress. The medical staff had never seen anything like Rex's vigil. Dr. Patricia Hernandez, the ICU nurse manager, had worked with therapy animals before, but Rex's behavior was different. He wasn't providing comfort to other patients, his entire focus was on Marcus. "It's like he's willing him to wake up," she observed to her colleagues. "I've seen family members maintain vigils like this, but never an animal. There's something almost human about his devotion." On the second night, something remarkable happened. Marcus's vital signs had been stable but unchanged since the surgery. Around AM, Rex suddenly stood up and moved closer to Marcus's bed, placing his head near Marcus's hand. Within minutes, Marcus's heart rate began to increase slightly, and his brain activity showed signs of improvement. "I can't explain it medically," Dr. Torres admitted when he reviewed the monitors the next morning. "But there seems to be a correlation between the dog's behavior and the patient's improvement. It's as if the dog's presence is somehow helping him fight his way back." By the third day, Marcus's condition had improved enough for Dr. Torres to begin reducing the medications keeping him in the induced coma. The plan was to allow him to wake up gradually, monitoring his neurological responses carefully. Rex seemed to sense the change before anyone else. His posture became more alert, and he began to whimper softly, a sound the hospital staff hadn't heard from him before. It wasn't a sound of distress, it was anticipation. Elena was holding Marcus's hand. When his eyes first fluttered, Rex stood immediately, his tail wagging for the first time since the shooting. The machines monitoring Marcus's vital signs began to beep more rapidly as his consciousness slowly returned. "Marcus," Elena whispered, squeezing his hand. "Can you hear me?" Marcus's eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, as he struggled to understand where he was. The breathing tube had been removed the previous day, and he tried to speak, but only managed a weak croak. "Don't try to talk yet," Elena said, tears streaming down her face. "You're in the hospital. You were shot, but you're going to be okay." Marcus's eyes moved around the room, taking in the machines, the hospital bed, Elena's tear-stained face. But when his gaze found Rex, everything changed. The dog had moved as close to the bed as possible, his entire body trembling with excitement and emotion. "Rex," Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Rex began to whine and cry, sounds of pure joy mixed with relief. He tried to get closer to Marcus, scratching at the side of the hospital bed in his desperation to reach his partner. "It's okay," Elena said, helping to lower the bed rail. "Let him come up." What happened next left everyone in the room speechless. Rex carefully climbed onto the hospital bed, moving with unprecedented gentleness. Instead of his usual exuberant greeting, the German shepherd slowly positioned himself beside Marcus, placing his head on Marcus's chest and letting out a long, deep sigh that seemed to release 3 days of accumulated worry and fear. Marcus raised his hand with great effort and placed it on Rex's head. "Good boy," he whispered. "My good boy." The reunion between Marcus and Rex became a turning point in Marcus's recovery. Dr. Torres noted significant improvements in all of Marcus's vital signs immediately after Rex was allowed back onto the bed. The officer's blood pressure stabilized. His heart rate became more regular, and his overall demeanor improved dramatically. There's something to be said for the healing power of companionship, Dr. Torres explained to Elena and Sergeant Williams. We've seen it with human family members, but this is the first time I've witnessed such a profound effect from an animal partner. Rex's own recovery was equally remarkable. Once he was reassured that Marcus was truly awake and improving, the dog finally allowed himself to eat a full meal. He still refused to leave Marcus's side, but he was no longer the anxious, grieving animal he had been during the vigil. The hospital staff had grown attached to both Marcus and Rex during their stay. Nurses would stop by the room not just for medical checks, but to witness the extraordinary bond between officer and K9. Rex had become something of a celebrity, with hospital employees bringing their children to meet the hero dog who had saved his partner's life through sheer devotion. He didn't just save Marcus during the shooting, Elena explained to one visiting child. He saved him again by refusing to give up, by staying with him and believing he would wake up. As Marcus's strength returned, so did his concern for Rex. Despite his own injuries and ongoing recovery, his first priority was ensuring that his partner was healthy and happy. How long did he stay? Marcus asked Dr. Kim during one of her visits. 3 days, she replied. 72 hours without eating, barely drinking, never leaving your side for more than a few minutes. I've never seen anything like it. Marcus looked down at Rex, who was sleeping peacefully beside him on the hospital bed. He's always been special. From the first day we met, I knew he was different. Marcus's physical recovery progressed steadily over the following weeks. The bullets had caused significant damage, but with time and physical therapy, he was expected to make a full recovery. Rex remained his constant companion throughout the process, seeming to understand that his role had shifted from protector to healer. During physical therapy sessions, Rex would position himself where Marcus could see him, providing motivation and encouragement. When Marcus struggled with particularly difficult exercises, Rex would move closer, offering the kind of silent support that only comes from true understanding. It's remarkable, commented Dr. Lisa Chen, Marcus's physical therapist. Most patients struggle with motivation during recovery, but Marcus has built-in encouragement. Rex seems to know exactly when Marcus needs that extra push. The K9 unit visited regularly, bringing updates on the investigation and news from the department. The shooter had been identified as part of a larger drug operation, and the information recovered from the raid had led to several additional arrests. Marcus and Rex's actions that night had ultimately dismantled a significant criminal network. You two made the biggest drug bust in the department's history, Sergeant Williams told them during one visit. The chief wants to put you both in for commendations, but for Marcus, the real reward was simpler than any medal or ceremony. It was waking up each morning with Rex beside him, knowing that their bond had survived the ultimate test. After 6 weeks in the hospital and another month of outpatient rehabilitation, Marcus was finally cleared to return to limited duty. The question that everyone had been asking was whether he and Rex would be able to return to active patrol work. Physically, you're both ready, Dr. Kim explained during their final medical evaluation. But after a traumatic event like this, sometimes the psychological impact can affect performance. We'll need to do some retraining exercises to make sure you're both comfortable in high-stress situations. The retraining process took place at the department's K9 facility, where Marcus and Rex had first met. It was emotional returning to the place where their partnership had begun, now as seasoned veterans who had faced the ultimate test together. The first exercises were basic obedience drills and simple search scenarios. Rex performed flawlessly, his skills as sharp as ever. But Marcus could see something different in his partner's behavior. Rex was more protective now, more attentive to potential threats. The shooting had changed them both. He's watching out for you differently now, observed Officer Janet Mills, who had helped with their original training. Before, he trusted you to handle the tactical situations. Now, he's assuming more responsibility for your safety. Marcus noticed it too. During training scenarios, Rex would position himself to provide better protection for Marcus, and his alertness to potential dangers had intensified. Rather than seeing this as a problem, Marcus recognized it as an evolution of their partnership. The day Marcus and Rex returned to active patrol duty was marked by a ceremony at police headquarters. The department had indeed put them both in for commendations, and they were recognized for their bravery and dedication to duty. Chief Rebecca Martinez presented Marcus with the Medal of Valor and Rex with a special K-9 Service Award. Officer Rodriguez and K-9 Rex represent the very best of what it means to serve and protect, she said during the ceremony. Their actions that night, and their dedication to each other, exemplify the values we all strive to uphold. But the real test came when they returned to the streets. Their first call was a routine traffic stop, nothing dramatic or dangerous. As Marcus approached the driver's side of the stopped vehicle, Rex positioned himself strategically, alert and ready, but not overly aggressive. Unit 47, traffic stop complete. No issues, Marcus radioed as they returned to their patrol car. As they drove away from the scene, Marcus reached over and scratched Rex behind the ears. "We're back, partner," he said softly. Rex's tail wagged, and for the first time since the shooting, Marcus felt that everything was truly back to normal. Not the same as before. They were both changed by what they had experienced, but perhaps even stronger because of it. In the months that followed, Marcus and Rex's story became legendary within law enforcement circles. Police departments around the country invited Marcus to speak about the bond between K-9 officers and their partners, and their story was featured in numerous publications and documentaries. But for Marcus, the most meaningful recognition came from his fellow officers and the community they served. Children would wave when they saw their patrol car, and parents would point them out as examples of bravery and dedication. "Look, there's Officer Rodriguez and Rex," they would say. "They're the ones who saved each other." The shooting had indeed changed them both, but it had also revealed the true depth of their bond. Rex had shown that loyalty isn't just about following orders or performing duties. It's about refusing to abandon those we love, even in the darkest moments. 2 years later, Marcus and Rex continue to patrol the streets together. They have been involved in numerous successful operations and have received additional commendations for their service. But their greatest achievement isn't measured in arrests made or crimes solved. It's in the example they set of what it means to be truly loyal friends. Rex is now 7 years old, approaching the age when most police dogs begin to consider retirement. Marcus knows that day will come, and he's already made plans. When Rex retires from active duty, he'll come home to live with Marcus and Elena as a family pet, a loyal friend who has more than earned his rest. "People ask me if I would do it again," Marcus reflects. "If I would throw myself in front of those bullets to save Rex, the answer is always the same, without hesitation. Because that's what partners do for each other. That's what loyal friends do." The bond between Marcus Rodriguez and Rex represents something that transcends training, duty, or even species. It's a reminder that true loyalty isn't about what we can gain from a relationship, but about what we're willing to sacrifice for those we love. In a world where commitment is often temporary and relationships are disposable, their story stands as proof that some bonds are truly unbreakable. Their partnership continues to inspire others, showing that the greatest courage isn't found in the absence of fear, but in the willingness to act despite that fear when someone we love is in danger. Marcus saved Rex's life that night in the warehouse, but Rex saved Marcus's soul through 3 days of unwavering vigil, proving that sometimes the greatest act of heroism is simply refusing to give up hope. In the end, their story isn't just about a police officer and his K-9 partner. It's about the transformative power of loyalty, the healing strength of love, and the unbreakable bonds that exist between true friends. It's a reminder that in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. As long as we have someone who refuses to abandon us, someone whose love transcends words and whose loyalty knows no limits, Marcus and Rex's legacy lives on in every K-9 team that follows in their footsteps, in every partnership built on trust and dedication, and in every act of selfless love. That proves the bonds between loyal friends can survive anything life throws at them.